non-Christian artist, like what Architect does and what you did here with this song. So you're breaking into an arena that's not very common.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to you for ministering to them and changing that man's life as drastically as you did just through hip hop.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a polarizing topic. A lot of people feel like, you shouldn't make a record as a Christian artist with a non-Christian. I don't agree with that. But no matter where you stand on that topic, I've now worked with at least a handful non-Christian artists. I have an EP dropping at the end of the month that has a huge non-Christian artist on it. And every single time that, and they're people that I built relationship with. So I would never put somebody on a record that I don't have. Anybody you hear on my records ever is somebody I have a personal relationship with. I don't put randoms on records. That's number one. So I've already developed a relationship. I know who they are. I have a great bond with that people. Secondarily, let's say I've done records over the last 3 years with 5 or 6 secular mainstream artists. Not only do I have a relationship with them, when we make the record, I say to them, I know you already know this, but no cursing, nothing, anything about, the females, this, that, and the other thing, and nothing that would be dishonoring to the Lord, because I'm gonna have to give an account for what you say on this record. And to all their credits, and Lions, some of these records, it's like that when they hit me back, they don't just hit me with like, okay, I sent them a dope verse that I'm not cursing. These guys all, you could tell they have relationships with God. It might not look like mine or yours, but they have, because they send stuff back, and I'm like, dang, that's not only not, dishonoring to the Lord, that's biblical. You know what I'm saying? I will not let somebody put something on a record of mine that I would not personally feel comfortable standing before the Lord about. So that's why I don't agree. As long as you dictate the terms and they respect that, I think a lot of times people just assume, like, if you're putting a secular artist on it, well, then they're going to say anti-Christ type things. It's like, it doesn't have to be that way, But so I appreciate you saying that. And I think it's dope that Architect see eye on many things, and that being one of them. That, like, what are we doing if we're just making music so that Christians could hear us rap? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the purpose?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I think, so in my case, I did a single with R.J. Payne. Very popular underground lyricist. By the time I asked him for another verse, another song later, I asked him, we were doing like some battle bars type stuff, right? He knew to keep it clean. We had built a relationship. When he sent me the second verse back for a completely unrelated song, he said to me, hey man, I changed the song. This is what he's saying to me. I'm like, what do you mean you changed the song? He's like, yeah man, I felt like God was telling me to do something like how you guys do it. And it started to hit me as I started to have a relationship with him. And I think me and Macho was talking about this earlier. Sometimes you get stuck in a life where you don't feel okay inside to be who God wants you and has called you to be, right? Because maybe you're ashamed in front of your homies or your block or whatever it is. And I feel like sometimes we give them, or in that case, I felt like I gave him an outlet to express himself in the way that God wanted him to. And I feel like the more opportunity we do, once you build relationships with them, the more opportunities we give them to do that, I feel like it brings them closer to Christ. And I feel like it's nuanced. I wouldn't advise doing that if you're not really the man of God that you are claiming to be in your song. Because these dudes can read when something's false and when it's fake, and then it has no effect, and then you're just doing it for your ego or for streams. You understand? So you really have to be the person that you're pairing, like you're pairing yourself up with them. You really have to make sure that inside that it is correct. You understand? Does that make sense?
May I real quick?
Send it, Macho.
Who are we called to reach?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who needs a doctor? Right? We do this for each other, and we do this to uplift other Christian artists. But at the end of the day, when you have someone looking up to you like, yo, I heard your song and it says something to me, right? I get this from my nieces and my nephews, and they're like, yo, that one song you did really put me in a place. And the place I want to put them is in a place where they seek God. Not put me on a pedestal, not put my brothers on a pedestal, but that the song hits them in a way where it's like, man, that kind of made me think. And that's my goal. That's my brother's goals, is for people to listen to the music and be like, oh, I hear that, or oh, I felt that, and that they go and reach out to God after that, and maybe have a conversation with Him and get right with Him. Like, that's my ultimate goal, and I know that's my brother's goals here, is for people to hear the music and not just ride out to it, not just be in the whip like that's fire, but to actually get that heart check and be like, hold on, bro, like, my man really just said that.
You know, I just want to mention something that I'm really glad that this question was asked and these discussions happened. That's actually a conflict I've had myself, right? Like, do I work with secular artists? Do I not work with secular artists? And I really, this opened up a whole new mindset for me, right? It's a form of discipleship, right? And that's our purpose, right? Matthew 28 tells us, go and make disciples. And so maybe, right, like what Architect just said, you know, it was like he gave that man permission, right? He gave him permission to actually be the man God made, God made him to be. And I'm like, wow, that just like blew my mind. So now it's almost shifting my mindset on that. Like, this is a whole different form of discipleship in a way that you're reaching these people that maybe nobody else would have been able to reach, simply by saying, I trust you to be on this record with me, right? Because your character is good. Your character is actually really good deep down in here. So that's what I'm good.
But it's also important to keep in mind that God met us where we are.
That's right. Amen.
So we didn't go looking for God. God came to us. So who are we to put a barrier on what can be done because they're in the secular world?
Well,
we're secular without God.
Yeah.
You know, so you guys doing that with other artists, you're expanding, you're exposing. You said last night when you were praying over Tommy, you need 7 more people. You just got 2.
Yeah.
You know? So it's one of those things that if you had the mindset of, I'm Christian, they're not, so I can't work with them, then why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah, man.
We're not called to reach each other. We're already serving God. We're called to reach those outside the 4 walls of a church building. And you guys accomplish that when you bring these people in. Now you're reaching their people. Now your reach is so much larger than what it was before the track was released.
Yeah, and I try to look at it like this. You know, the religious way to look at it is, oh, you're a Christian artist, you shouldn't collaborate with a non-Christian because that might reflect poorly on your Christianity. I'm like, no, actually, if I'm the only Christian he ever comes across and I don't minister to him, I have to give an account to the Lord that I overlooked him because he's not a Christian. So I'm more scared about me facing the consequences than him facing the consequences, you know, of me not having it on him. So yeah, absolutely, man. So steady.
This is like the most blessing, man, to hear exactly how my brother here, Jay, you know, you guys are talking about. And me as a producer, and from starting back in the late 80s and on, the transaction of how dealing with secular, and I wasn't even using the word secular, you know, never heard of it or anything until we came out here to Tampa. But, you know, I'm glad that this was brought out because I don't know, it was feeling more guilty still, you know, dealing with my guys back home in the Bronx or New York, and then I'm dealing with my, you know, my fan brother here, Jay Miranda, and then now you guys, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, and it's like, I'm still here learning, you know? And that was about the most, and I was wondering if that's what you tell the artists, man, the secular artists, man, you know, just don't give me no cursing, no this, no that. Because that's even though I still produce some of the seculars, I wasn't sure if I was just kind of stepping over the line by saying, I don't want no cursing and this and that, you know? Even though I'm not gonna be in the video, I'm not gonna be, everything was just more of a business transaction and everything, you know, and I have my fair share in New York dealing with the industry as well, you know, so, you know.
And what I've seen, and I'll say this lastly about it, what I've seen is that because I walk with the Lord and I'm the same every day in terms of my commitment to the Lord, the non-Christian artists that I've collaborated with, they have a natural reverence for the Lord because they see me walking with the Lord, right? So when I ask them to be on my record, they already are like, yo, Adam's proven to be very consistent in his faith. Like he's not faith-based when it's convenient. He's been consistent for years. And now he's having me on the record, like, I don't need to give them a pep talk. Like, they already come like, okay, I'm a little bit nervous about doing something wild. I promise you, Adam, like, you know what I'm saying? So you don't even have to tell them. I say to them, but they're like, yo, I got you, Adam, I already know. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the more that we walk with the Lord consistently, the more people are just gonna naturally be, you know, fall into line. We don't have to push them into line.
Stand on business.
Exactly.
That's good.
It's unconventional warfare.
That's
Right, so I'll say this, I know this is not, I don't wanna preach it. I'm currently active duty Army right now, as we sit. And I'm about to retire. But in the military, we always see things through the lens of like, there's conventional warfare, and then there's unconventional warfare. And one of the mission sets of special operations is terrain denial. So I always look at it like, we are conducting operations to deny the enemy terrain prior to the enemy even having access to that. So what special operations will do is prevent access to key terrain or key areas before the enemy can even get in that area, to affect anything in that area. So I think that in the same way, your walk has to be correct, your relationships have to be correct, you need to be prayed up, you need to have a circle of other Christians, you need to be mentored, you need to be correct in such a way that when you're doing what you're doing, working with anyone else outside the space, you need to be correct, because what you're doing is considered unconventional warfare. It's different. When I'm telling you from personal experience, when you step out that Christian hip hop space, it's different. These dudes are driven different, have different goals, so you need to make sure that your walk is correct. And I just want to say that.
I thank you guys tremendously, man, because this was not even a situation, because I will keep telling other people who the Christian artists said that were against it. I was like, God, if anything, I would be working on myself to inspire them. If anything, I don't force nothing, because that's obviously gonna be between them and God. I would just inspire them the best I could once they see the lane that I'm going and the path that I'm taking, you know. And I know there's a reason why God led me to Crossover Church, me brothers like Jay, and now you guys as well, and so forth, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm learning, you know.
Well, I think it's a great segue. The next record is